the most hated fighter ever. One punch erased him. Some fighters win fans with heart, others earn it with skills. But Josh Koscheck? He earned it by being the most hated man in the UFC. And the worst part? He knew it. He loved it. But every villain eventually meets his end. And for Koscheck, it wasn't a war. It wasn't a 5-round bloodbath. It was just one punch. One cold, clean shot that erased everything. This is the story of how hate became a weapon, and how silence finally shut Koscheck down for good. The loudmouth enters the game. Josh Koscheck didn't stumble into fame. He charged into it head first, mouth wide open. He made his name on The Ultimate Fighter, back when the UFC was still fighting to stay relevant. Laban was the wild man. Koscheck was the calm villain, cold, calculated. He bullied his way through the house, not with fists, but with insults. Fans saw a guy who didn't care about respect. And in a sport full of honor and humility, that made him public enemy number one. But guess what? It worked. Dana White saw dollar signs. Koscheck wasn't here to shake hands. He was here to dominate and agitate, fighting dirty. Koscheck had skills, no doubt. NCAA wrestling champ, freak cardio, solid power. But his fights always came with controversy. He became known for something that no fighter wants to be known for: eye pokes. From Anthony Johnson to Paul Daly, Koscheck kept accidentally jamming his fingers into people's faces. And each time, he'd flash that smirk like, "Oops, my bad." Fans started chanting boo before the walkout music even played. Fighters called him the dirtiest in the game. But Koscheck didn't care. He thrived in that hate. Like a real-life movie villain, he wanted to be the guy you love to see lose. The GSP beatdown. The peak of his villain era. UFC 124. George St. Pierre versus Josh Koscheck. Koscheck spent months trash-talking. He told the press that GSP was a fake champ. He mocked the way he fought. GSP said nothing. When they stepped into the cage, it was brutal. GSP jabbed Koscheck's face into a grotesque balloon. He broke Josh's orbital bone in the first round and kept jabbing it for 4 more. By round 5, Koscheck looked like he'd been in a car crash. He didn't quit, but that wasn't courage, that was pride. And even after getting his face broken, Koscheck went on to say, "He didn't hurt me." Fans were furious. Fighters rolled their eyes. But Koscheck, he loved that hate still followed him home. Paul Daly's famous punch. UFC 113. Josh Koscheck versus Paul Daly. Koscheck dominated, wrestled him to the ground for 3 rounds. Trash talked the whole time. Daly was fuming. The fight ends. The horn sounds. And then BAM. Daly walks up and sucker punches Koscheck after the bell. And here's the twist. The crowd cheered. That's how deep the hate ran. Dana White banned Daly from the UFC forever. Koscheck, he got a title shot. Hate was now part of his paycheck. The decline begins.
Oh! Big shot, looking to finish it right away!
After the GSP loss, Koscheck's career slowly began to slide. Losses piled up. His chin started to crack. Fighters like Johnny Hendricks and Robbie Lawler, they didn't just beat him, they shut him off. One punch, lights out, no more talking. Fans stopped booing, they stopped reacting. And that's when Josh started fading, not just from the rankings, but from the spotlight. The final erasure, Eric Silva. The last punch in this story didn't just hurt, it erased him. March 2015. UFC Fight Night 62. Koscheck versus Eric Silva. Koscheck rushes in, as if it were 2008. Arms wide, chin high, no setup. Silva sees it coming. Crack. One straight right. Koscheck falls face first, stiff as a board. His legs twitch. The crowd is stunned. That was it. The trash talk, the smirk. The hate-fueled hype train. All erased by one punch. Nobody booed. Nobody cheered. Just Silence. And in that silence, the villain disappeared. Bellator, desperation and retirement. Koscheck tried a comeback. He signed with Bellator in 2017, but it was too late. The speed was gone, the hunger was gone, and the hate. The hatred had shifted to individuals like Colby Covington. Koscheck's return fight was a disaster, another KO. After that, he disappeared. No press tour, no documentary, no farewell, just gone. The real lesson of Koscheck. Josh Koscheck made a name being hated. But here's the truth. You can only live off hate for so long. When the wins stop, the hate stops. And when that hate is your whole brand, you're done. Koscheck didn't build a legacy. He built noise. And the minute that noise faded, so did he. Fighters like GSP and Anderson Silva leave memories. Koscheck left memes, a punchline, a cautionary tale. Because when your biggest moment is the punch that knocked you out, that's not legacy. That's a highlight for someone else's reel. Koscheck versus Dana White, the fallout. You'd think the guy who helped build UFC into a reality TV hit would stay loyal to the company. But Koscheck, nah. He even went after Dana White. After his UFC career nosedived, Koscheck started talking real spicy. Claimed the UFC treated fighters like disposable tools. Said Dana was a liar and that fighters should unionize. He hinted at a lawsuit, exposed contract numbers. Dana didn't fire back publicly, but behind the scenes, Koscheck's name got buried. No Hall of Fame talk, no analyst gig, no comeback offer, just radio silence. In the UFC's world, when you go after the boss, you don't just get cut, you get erased. And Koscheck, he wasn't just out of the cage, he was out of the history books. The birth of the modern villain. Before there was Conor, before Colby rocked the MAGA hat, there was Josh Koscheck. He was the prototype villain, not flashy, not charming, just mean, smug, and dangerous. Koscheck taught the UFC that haters pay the bills. Fans didn't need to love you, they just needed to care enough to watch you lose. Colby Covington, same formula. Trash talk, cheap heat, heel tactics. Sean Strickland, unfiltered rage, cringy one-liners. It's Koscheck 2.0 with better marketing. But here's the thing, Koscheck didn't have social media to go viral. He built all that hate just off his attitude. In a way, he walked so the others could run. They learned from his success, but also from his downfall. Because while today's villains rebrand and stay relevant, Koscheck vanished with no podcast, no merch line, no redemption arc. He was real heat, and sometimes, real heat burns you up too fast. What if he stayed silent? Let's run the what if. What if Koscheck didn't talk trash? What if he were humble like Frankie Edgar or GSP? Would he have been respected instead of hated? Maybe. He had the skills. He beat legit names. But let's be honest, without the mouth, he wouldn't have gotten half the attention. Trash talk got him main events, title shots, pay-per-views. But it also got him hate mail, mockery, and no legacy. There's a cost to being a villain, especially if you don't win in the end. And Koscheck didn't win in the end. So all that noise, it faded. Maybe silence would have lasted longer. Where is he now? So, where is Josh Koscheck today? Off the grid. No UFC appearances, no fight nights, no Twitter beef. But he's not broke. After retiring, Koscheck started investing. Word is he's been into real estate and business. He occasionally shows up on smaller podcasts, giving quiet takes on old rivalries. Still has blonde hair, still sounds confident, but the fire's gone. No more wars, no more booze. Just a guy who once made the whole MMA world mad, and now just wants to be left alone. Hate made him rich. Silence made him disappear. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly how he planned it. Josh Koscheck was never the best fighter, but he might have been the most hated. And in the end, one clean shot took it all away. What do you think? Was Koscheck misunderstood, or just the villain he claimed to be? Drop your thoughts below. And if you love stories where pride meets punishment, where big mouths eat big punches, then hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on notification, because we've got more stories of legends, clowns, kings, and the night they all fell. This was Josh Koscheck, the most hated fighter ever, and in the end, one punch erased him.